Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here to some more Fan Fridays. And look at that, we got a Mimikyu and a Dunsparce on the same team. But then when you read the comment, 2 level 1 Pokemon. We have a level 1 Dunsparce and a level 1 Mimikyu on the same team. Now we know that the level 1 Mimikyu is absolutely insane. That we saw that for the Pokemon Global Link. I got to use it on the Battle Tree. I've used it on the Battle Spot. And it's a really fun thing that, you know, the Mimikyu provides insane amounts of utility. And then a Alolan Marowak or whatever Trick Room setup you want to have just comes in and then you win. This is next to Dunsparce. So level 1 Dunsparce is going to outspeed pretty much everything in the game forever. Which means it double Rock Slides. And then that's going to be 60% chance flinch both opponents under Trick Room with this insane utility Mimikyu. The only problem I see is like kill potential. But overall, this is like the best thing ever. We have a Dunsparce at level 1 that's about to, like, contribute to a battle. I think that means, you know, any Pokemon has potential, for sure, if you break it down like that. Togedemaru is going to set up the Reflect, and Tapu Fini goes for the Moonblast. Now, I'm wondering how the item setup is, because we know the Focus Sash on Mimikyu is pretty much impossible to get through, but if that Tapu Fini had Taunt, maybe a Mental Herb would be better, and Mimikyu does set up the Trick Room. Because Dunsparce without Focus Sash is still going to be vulnerable if it doesn't get the double flinching. So that's something interesting. But Mimikyu going to switch out. Now we're bringing in Alolan Muck. Alright, so Muck is in. Now there's actually like something that can pressure instead of 2 level 1 Pokemon. Even though between like Dusty Ball and Shadow Sneak, Pain Split, Mimikyu can still put in work at level 1. So that's going to be the Rock Slide right there, popping the Air Balloon. Tapu Fini does not get flinch, goes for the Muddy Water, hits both opponents. So that will connect onto the Dunsparce. Dunsparce will go down, so no what item is on Dunsparce then? I don't know. But, oh, I forgot about, oh my, and Togedemaru flinches. Alright, so Dunsparce did what it needed to. It got at least 1 flinch, which is on odds, and then it passed off its ability to the Alolan, like, either way you win. Either way, it's a win-win. You get a double flinch, or they don't focus the Dunsparce. Now you have Trick Room Dunsparce next to an Alolan Muck that's setting up Minimize. If Dunsparce goes down, it's still useful because its Serene Grace ability gets passed on through the power of Alchemy, and that's going to be a Rangaroo for the double Minimize. It's not +4 evasion under that Trick Room. Yeah, either way, it's like just free. Just super free no matter what happens. That's great. And then Trick Room, and then Mimikyu can come in, so let's Focus Sash, so Trick Room resetting potential, or Rangaroo, Trick Room resetting potential. And that's going to be Calm Mind for the Tapu Fini, though. It doesn't feel threatened, so it's just going to go for the mad damage right now. We have Moonblast, Muddy Water, and then just Calm Mind. So Minimize, we now have Max Evasion Muck. As a Rangaroo goes for the Psychic. Psychic's going to target the Tapu Fini. Not do a lot of damage after the Calm Mind, not really too much, but Muck will avoid the attacks. And that's going to be a Muddy Water on to the Rangaroo. So Rangaroo after split damage doesn't really take too much. Looks like Tank Fini into some Calm Mind boosting. Zing Zap though adds a little bit of damage, and that's going to be a Rangaroo with the Citrus Berry. Oh, never mind. Just leftovers instead of the Confusion Berry. But then Tapu Fini also going to be healing up a little bit for itself as well. So now what's Muck going to do? Stockpile. Alright, we got Minimize Stockpile, Serene Grace, Alolan Muck. Hey, if that gets instructed, now Muck is like just unstoppable on tankiness. So what's it going to do with the Serene Grace then? Does Muck get Rock Slide? But then that means you have to have Trick Room up the whole time. Where's its offensive potential? You know, I'm curious as to like what the win condition on this Muck is. Sorry, Minimize it's cool, Stockpile it's cool. Putting those together though means you're going to have to go for the long stall, and I'm wondering how that's going to work. Now that you have Serene Grace, the world is in your hands. You can do whatever you want. Accuracy is going to drop on the Muddy Water with the Muck. Zing Zap, the opponent's now focusing on the Muck, because that's kind of what you need to do in this situation where you have all those stats being set up. Does get 2 hits through the evasion though, which is pretty nice. And then Muck is almost maxed out in Stockpile, so what is Muck going to do? That's the big question. Twist Dimensions return to normal, the mist disappears. Everything just kind of wears off on this turn. That's whatever. And then Togedemaru is going to go for the Zing Zap. Zing Zap onto the Rangaroo. Big damage once the flinch. Muck avoids. Alright, so no Trick Room reset right there, and that is going to be the Muddy Water taking down Rangaroo, but Muck avoids it because low accuracy on top of evasion is not going to be good for the Tapu Fini. Is this going to be Z Stockpile? Alright, Z Stockpile on the Alolan Muck, gets all the stats, goes back up to full health, and then it has Serene Grace. Yeah, Z Stockpile, cool. Now, it's going to be next to the Mimikyu, and then it has a 1v4 in its ahead. So how are we gonna make this happen? Also, that means Mimikyu has a hard time getting the Trick Room set up again, unless Muddy Water misses, or unless they don't go for the Zing Zap on the Togedemaru. Togedemaru Zing Zap, that's gonna hit the Mimikyu, so there goes Focus Sash. And then Muddy Water, if it doesn't miss, then like, yeah, that's what confuses me. Because why would you have Serene Grace if you can't apply any of the effects of Serene Grace? And Muck keeps losing accuracy, which is pretty bad. So it's not looking good. It's still going long, though. And Muck with the Poison Fang. So, oh, I guess 100% chance to Toxic Poison the opponent is pretty solid. But what are you going to do to a Steel type like Togedemaru then? But Tapu Fini is taking solid damage, and it's looking pretty hurt overall. Also, there's just like no damage coming across anyway. So let's go and see some misses on the evasion and how Muck deals with Pokemon like Togedemaru. So Zing Zap's a little bit of damage. Tapu Fini will miss the Moonblast, and Muck has Bite. Isn't Bite the one that can flinch? I think. What does Bite do? Because I know Crunch is defense. So I guess Bite is flinch. So I guess you throw down. Is it 30 or 20 on the Bite? I got. It looks like nothing is really going to go much different in this battle. So I'm going to look up Bite right now, because you don't see Bite. The competitive Bite is not something that you expect too often. But that's still Togedemaru's still taking a little bit of damage right there. And it looks like 30% chance to flinch. In Generation 1 was a 10% chance to flinch. But in Generation 2 onward became Dark, 30% chance to flinch. So that's actually going to be some solid damage. And if Muck was like under Trick Room, you have a 60% chance to flinch something, while 100% chance to Toxic while doing damage. Not bad. But Muck is getting beaten up right now. With all that evasion, you know, he's losing special, well actually, losing special attack doesn't really matter, but yeah, I guess his max hit points, max attack Muck, because he's still doing a lot of damage on that Bite to the Togedemaru. Tapu Fini is getting poisoned though. And Tapu Fini not going down next turn, Togedemaru is at risk next turn, and Togedemaru sets up the Reflect though. So Reflect will reduce a lot of damage, which is pretty nice, but it's a little too late for the Togedemaru. And Tapu Fini landing way more attacks than it should this game. And that is going to be Muck's special attack dropping once again. Doesn't really matter. At least the accuracy issue isn't coming into play too hard for the Muck as well. And Tapu Fini heals with the leftovers, but it's dead next turn. Then the next Pokemon gets Toxic Poison. Then the next Pokemon gets Toxic Poison. And then I guess that's what Muck has. So yeah. Can't survive anymore after that. Garchomp comes in. Oh, the rough skin is going to suck. Can Muck do it now? Like, we're going to need a lot of misses. It's going to have to get pretty crazy from here. Oh, Garchomp just Earthquakes his own Tapu Fini. I guess that happens. Because Tapu Fini's dead anyways, and it has a chance of missing the hit, so you'd rather go for the KO with the Muck. Poison Fang will miss right there. And then Arcanine comes in. So it depends on how greedy Garchomp wants to be. You know, maybe Arcanine. Oh, and the Intimidate. Everything is against this Muck right now. Arcanine is helping hand. So, is he helping handing the Earthquake just to take down the Muck so he doesn't have to deal with it? No, that's a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to miss. Poison Fang is going to connect onto the Garchomp. Need to get the biggest threat out of the way. And get the Toxic Poison down. That's still going to take a lot of turns. Rough Skin making it to where Muck is in KO range right now. And this is where all that luck kind of comes back into play. As we see Arcanine with the Protect. So Arcanine's go Protect. Doesn't want to be Toxic. Makes sense. And you can't really throw any more hits at the Garchomp because then the Rough Skin takes you down. Also protecting during the Earthquake. Muck will avoid the attack. And Poison Fang will be protected. But that's fine. And then Garchomp starts adding up on the poison damage. Like at any time. Game's over. Even with all those stockpiles, the Muck are looking a little more frail than I would expect. I guess hit point attack investment does that? Question mark. But Arcanine's going to avoid the Poison Fang, so those accuracy drops. That's Tapu Fini doing a lot more work than expected. And Reflect's going to wear off, so at least a little bit more damage onto the Arcanine overall. Garchomp's Dragon Claw. Oh, it lands the Dragon Claw, but Muck will survive the Dragon Claw 1 hit points. Yeah, alright, stockpiles came through. Not as much as I would have expected. Like, when you see 3 stockpiles, you don't think the Pokemon's going to take more than 20 damage from anything. But Garchomp getting weakened by that poison. Arcanine now has a poison taking on it. Muck can go for the Bite, but without the Trick Room, it doesn't have that flinch chance. So this seems like a... Oh, never mind. This looks like game over. I was about to say, it looks like a worst case scenario kind of battle overall. And that is going to be the GG. not after causing the opponent a little bit of distress. Let's go and check out another battle to see how much differently it went. Cause I thought it was gonna be better once you got all that set up, but yeah, it just kind of did not happen in the end. Can the combo get revenge in round 2 is the question. So yeah, I like the hustle, but it looks like in the end, trading off like all that flinch, not having damage, and if the Trick Room falls through, it's not like the most insane thing ever. But if we can get it to work, that means you just won with a level 1 Dunsparce and 2 level 1 Pokemon overall. The level 1 Mimikyu is like, it's a full Pokemon for itself, and it looks like we're going up against a hacker as well. So that's going to make this victory all the more sweeter. Let's get the rage in here. Let's go and bring it to the top with these Pokemon right now. And Raikou has the air balloon. Don't see, well, I mean, I was about to say you don't see that too often, but we just saw that on Togedemaru. So interesting air balloon. Weavile Fake Out will be protected. It can't hit the Mimikyu. Volt Switch is only going Break to the Skies. So it looks like we get a free Trick Room this battle anyways. And I had a hiccup. Okay. Now's a bad time to get hiccups in the middle of recording, especially when it could get super hype. So Tapu Fini comes in. Tapu Fini, I think it's just too little too late. Like, Misty Surge isn't really going to do too much. It's not like there's a Will-O-Wisp headed for the Weavile or anything. Trick Room does get set up, and then that means Dunsparce is going to be able to go for the Rock Slides, unless Dunsparce gets switched out. Alright, switching out into the Marowak. It looks like this battle is being played a bit differently overall, I guess. That with the Marowak, you know, there was one thing missing in the last battle, and that was kind of damage, and the Muck didn't have enough sustain. Like, I feel Rest. If you have all those minimized, maybe Rest better than the stockpiles overall. And then you can just bite and whatever for the Steel-type Pokemon. But Knockoff, switch in for the Marowak, loses Thick Club, takes an insane amount of damage. Well, Marowak without Thick Club is not going to be doing that well. But we still have Trick Room, so Marowak gets to do something. Mimikyu has a Shadow Sneak, decides to target the Weavile. I guess just in case there's a Focus Sash on the Weavile, kind of want that out of the way, and Marowak goes for the Flare Blitz. So Marowak's Flare Blitz will go and hit Weavile, and that will be enough to KO even without the Thick Club, because Flare Blitz is high damage and super effective, and Weavile's frail. So that's pretty solid. And Tapu Fini goes for the Moonblast, and oh, we see the hidden ability, right? It's the Rock Head. So no recoil damage, but Marowak goes down anyway. That's not something you expect in doubles. Generally, you see the Lightning Rod, but I like the Rock Head a bit more. So now Dunsparce is back in. All right. We got a couple turns of Trick Room left. We got a KO. We traded, and now we can go for tons of flinch on the Dunsparce. This is going to be an interesting little battle for sure. So Raikou is floating with the air balloon. You might as well use Dunsparce, or might as well use Mimikyu to hit that air balloon off. But Dunsparce protecting this turn, kind of playing it safe. Raikou protecting as well, and that's going to be Shadow Sneak from Mimikyu, going to be protected. And then Tapu Fini setting up an Aqua Ring. So Tapu Fini wants to go tanky, and it wants to go late game. But Mimikyu just level 1, sitting out there all vulnerable. Nothing's happening. I guess trying to stall through the Trick Room so the opponent can get a chance to get through that also works out pretty well. Good flinch odds, or Mimikyu is going to switch out, and now Muck is on the field. Alright, so we have what we need. Muck switches in, Dunsparce gets a Rock Slide. It's a couple turns late and a different Pokemon away, but it looks like we're going to be in the same thing. So Air Balloon's going to pop. Tapu Fini gets a Taunt. Taunt is going to land onto the Dunsparce. I guess when you see a level 1, you just can't trust it. Like Endeavor. Does Dunsparce get Endeavor? Like, you could do some really weirdness on that level 1 right there. But that's going to be a flinch on the Raikou. And now, I think Trick Room wears off, though. So that's going to be bad. Yeah, Twisted Dimension's returning to normal. Mist disappearing from the battlefield, so no status anymore, but that kind of doesn't matter. Or status is allowed again. Raikou goes for the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt will target onto the Muck. Muck takes some big damage, and Tapu Fini with the Moonblast. So Moonblast is that... Yeah, Tapu Fini just hates the Dunsparce, and Dunsparce will go down. But Power Alchemy gives Muck the Serene Grace. See, I feel like when you're passing off the Serene Grace, in theory it sounds like the greatest thing ever, because yeah, you could like Rock Slide, but Muck isn't fast enough. Muck doesn't have the speed to make that happen, and it's super unfortunate. Because yeah, unless the Trick Room stays up, but without the Oranguru, there's no Trick Room refresh, and now it's just Mimikyu, which is Taunt Bait. It can just get double focused into Trick Room, and it can't use Trick Room. So that's going to be Raikou with the Thunderbolt. Unless Tapu Fini wants to taunt the Muck so it can't minimize anymore. Tapu Fini is going to taunt, and that is targeting Muck. Okay. So maybe the opponent not reading the situation correctly. That's going to be the taunt anticipation into the Poison Fang. We know that that does very well against Tapu Fini from the last battle. Super effective damage. Overall hits pretty hard. And then Trick Room comes in. So now Mimikyu has a chance to be disruptive. You know, it can Pain Split. It can knock down half of Raikou health. Tapu Fini's already poisoned. We can get more poison on the Raikou. We can try to go for some flinch stacking on that bite. Is it too late for this battle, or can it still come back is the question. Now, Muk is locked into only offensive moves, so that's kind of bad. And it does have a little bit going for it. Pain Split will drop Tapu Fini's health substantially, though, with that poison coming on, and Muk is going to bite onto Raikou. So, looking for the damage shutdown instead of the toxic stalling, Muk will miss, and Raikou flinches. Okay, little bit of annoyance. You know, kind of cheesing out the opponent a little bits here and there. And the Mimikyu with Pain Split still has a Focus Sash, so has damage options if needed, or can Destiny Bond when it's threatened enough. That could be it. Maybe it all rides on Mimikyu a lot more. That Mimikyu needs to get a KO. That there needs to be some more KO stuff going through right there before anything happens. Muk with another bite onto the Raikou. Tapu Fini with the Moonblast. Moonblast, that's going to hit onto Muk, so it does land on the Muk. Muk barely surviving. I mean, that's where you use the stockpile. And then Shadow Ball going to hit Mimikyu. So Mimikyu is at 1 hit points with the Focus Sash. And I guess that just works out. Okay, so the Z stockpile now making sense. I mean, just tankiness on top of full health when you're backed by evasion is a very nice thing to have. So let's watch. And Tapu Fini, I don't know if it's down to poison next turn, but Muk's taunt wears off. Doesn't really matter because of the Z move. And that's going to be Destiny Bond. So it looks like Destiny Bond out of nowhere could claim Raikou. And then we're going to see the Z stockpile bring Muk into a good situation. But Muk's in a 1v2 again. Tapu Fini is going to go down pretty quickly. So it looks like the next Pokemon gets Poison Fang. And Muk can bring it back. And that's a Z stockpile. So, I mean, yeah, it's all on that Trick Room. I feel it's so hard. It's so hard because, like, you need Muk, or you need Marowak. You need something that does insane Trick Room damage. The Marowak not switching into the knockoff might have gone better for it in the long run. But that's what we have. And then we have Raikou with the Shadow Ball onto the Mimikyu. And Mimikyu will go down. So that's the claim. Mimikyu takes its attacker with it. And then all Muk has to do is just, it has to win the war. It just has to wait it out. You know, land the Toxic Fang on the next Pokemon. Get those couple turns of poison to add up, and then maybe a little bit of bite damage here and there, because the attack does help. And then Tapu Fini should be able to survive the poison with the help of that Aqua Ring. So Tapu Fini's gone next turn, and that's Terrakion. And I'm not surprised, because the opponent's hacking, and that's why it's shiny. So let's go and see what happens with this Muk. Muk uses Minimize. It's going to say, you know what? Trick Room's still up. Let's make sure that taunt has a chance of missing. Let's make sure the opponent can't land something on us. But threads in the Minimize before the taunt comes through. Tapu Fini goes down anyways. Terrakion throws down the Earthquake. Muk's going to avoid it. And that is a scary looking Earthquake for sure. But you get Toxic Fang into Bite. And that's kind of all that you need. Actually, Bite on Terrakion, don't do it, because that's going to be justified. So you might as well just keep using the Toxic Fang. So Terrakion will miss the Earthquake. I think Muk can definitely survive one Earthquake because of that stockpile. But it's all going to be on the poison damage, minimizing when possible, and then just kind of hanging back and watching the opponent take down. Because Terrakion at least doesn't have sustain. That poison's going to add up, and it's going to be done. So Muk will avoid another Earthquake. We'll get that Poison Fang. So that's going to be... It's like an extra 1/8, 10th of the health, so it just adds to the poison. It looks like Muk can win this one out. So getting another Minimize, or just kind of making sure those Poison Fangs land, like, even if one Earthquake goes through, it's still going to be fine for the Muk. But after this, I think Terrakion's down next turn for sure. And unless it crits, Terrakion loses. And it looks like we still find a battle. So yeah, maybe not like an insane, crazy strat like I thought it was going to be. But there's the Power Evasion. That's Muk going for the stockpile just in case. A little bit of insurance overall. I think the Poison Fang would have been enough to take it down, but that's going to be toxic in the end, and Terrakion surviving with a little bit of hit points. But now Muk is super safe on the survival, and the opponent forfeits. Doesn't even try to watch the Earthquake miss, and that is going to be the Salty Hacker going down to this team. Still trying to think about it, guys. I don't know. It works. It's good, but I didn't think it was as godly as I thought it was going to be. Like, it's definitely fan-friendly. Like, the creativity is over 9,000. But yeah, it's just maybe in a 6v6. Like if this was a 6v6 double strat, that's where you want to bring this. You want to have an extra Trick Room setter. You know, that's where you bring Mimikyu or Rangaroo. You have Marowak. Maybe even another Trick Room. Just to make sure Muck is always in that Trick Room. Always having chance for damage. The Z stockpile did work in the second battle. And a Heal Pulse Pokemon, Trick Room Heal Pulse is probably something that you also want to see as well. Maybe just back it up with a Comfey. That way you can get the priority healing while also like leech seeding the opponent, doing some silliness like that. Just kind of playing the sustain and grab game. In a 6v6, also, Psych Up. Once Muck has +6 evasion, +3 stockpile, and all those other stats, having Psych Up on it is going to be really good. So I see this being better in 6v6 than a 4v4. But the idea is there, the creativity is amazing, and we just watched 2 level 1 Pokemon win a battle, one of them being Dunsparce. So if you guys enjoyed the battle, I hope to see you guys in the next Fan Fridays. Thank you very much for watching.